Yo, what's good? Welcome back to the channel. Alright, so for today we have Michael Jordan wearing the black and red Air Jordan 14s. Of course, he only wore them for 3 games in the 1998 finals, Game 3, Game 4, and Game 6. As usual, I'm going to let all of the highlights play and I'll talk about it after. Alright, let's check it out.
Michael with Longley trying to screen for him. Spins around Hornacek and hits off the glass. Silence. They trail 27-21. Michael got Anderson into the air but doesn't unleash the shot. Now he will.
When you overplay that man in the corner, their pressure release is to cut back door. How often have we seen it in the playoffs? Luke Long
going, back cut, dunk. You take another look at it, you see him go away, the bounce pass, the feed, the dunk, and you're watching the NBA.
Flops on that one.
Jordan at the other end gets the 2 for Chicago.
Now you watch Jordan away from the ball, moving without the ball. You see sets Morris up.
Is back into the Utah lineup. The ball is kicked. And that gives Utah a fresh 24.
Scottie Pippen is so...
Jordan into the lane. And he gets the roll. Kukoc looking for Michael and finding him. Spins on Hornacek to the left hand. Jordan to the hole. Wrapped up by Ostertag, and somehow, some way, he scores.
See, faked Hornacek right, took him left to the baseline. Hornacek taking away that right hand of Jordan, gives him the fake. Now he gives him the sweep underneath. Ostertag doesn't give him a good, hard enough foul. See, you got to grab that right hand. Don't let him get the shot off.
Here's a man 7-2 and
2:55 and then rest.
Jordan takes it upon himself. Jordan from 20 gives it up instead to Harper, gets it back and lays it in. Jordan ties the game. Right to Michael, around Hornacek with the scoop.
And then as he comes into the post, to post Hornacek, he gets Hornacek on his back and he spins to the baseline. But watch as he comes out and he's coming up the floor. Watch Foster give him a little shot right there.
In most of the games, and they've won a fair share of them. From 20, it's Michael. Kukoc for Michael against Russell. Up and under, and 2 to end the half, as only he can. Well, it's only a 2-point difference. Pippen to Michael, spins into the lane and slams it.
You can't dive for the steal, not on Michael Jordan. If you're going to go for that...
Russell goes for the steal, and you can't do that. Jordan wants it in the low post against Hornacek.
He's got it. And he's got the hoop.
From outside, I thought he had a direct line to the post, but he went and set the pick and roll screen.
Michael ready to work. Got it. Remember, he was able to rest the entire 4th quarter of Game 3, then had 2 days off. There was a practice mixed in, but Isley is closest with 8. And they turn it over. Michael gets the lead back for Chicago. Anderson, who's done a good job defensively on Jordan. Michael tests him again, and this time gets the hoop. Jordan, Anderson leaning on him. Michael spins and scores.
Bob, you got to run at him right now.
5 fouls. Can't really play him that deep. Jordan gets so deep, and then he gets deep again. If you let Michael beat you, he will. Somebody's got to come and help Doug. You got to bring size on the double team.
Hornacek is now 18 for 46 in the series. Jordan, there's his first field goal. Jordan for 3. Got it. Jordan over Russell. Tied at 22 with half a minute to play in the period.
Ahmad Rashad back at the Delta Center, and early on, Scottie Pippen re-injured his back on that dunk shot that he had just at the beginning of the game. He has been in the locker room for the past 5 or 6 minutes trying to stretch that back out. He has both doctors in there. They're just trying to see what they can do to get him ready to play. And if anything else happens, I will be here to report it to you.
Off the glass. Jordan wheels inside around Anderson. And again, it's a 2-point game. Jordan, daylight for 3. 13 for Michael. Utah by 1. Michael springs free and takes the lob from Kukoc.
Great roll off for Russell. Faked up and spent off him. Kukoc put it right there for the easy lay-in for Jordan.
18 for the mailman. Jordan for 3. And there's his answer. Russell's first basket. Here's Michael. He's got 21.
I'm watching Jordan, and he's in such a nice rhythm offensively.
Jordan's the guy they want, even more so than usual, and that's why. Jordan pulls up and connects. Here's Pippen. The bad back makes Hornacek's assignment on him a whole lot easier. Left alone, he doesn't take the 3. Michael, fade away. Jordan against Anderson. He's still Michael Jordan.
Fourth quarter.
Jordan with the jumper. Jordan ties it. Maybe the 20-second timeout was, as much as anything, just to give him a breather to gather himself for the crucial free throws. 50 seconds. Malone. Cross court, Stockton, a 3. It's there!
To get a quick score, get to the free throw line to give them 2 opportunities to 1.
Pippen into Jordan. Michael working on Russell. Brings them to within 1.
They scored within 4 seconds there. That's how quickly that changes now. Now it puts the pressure on the Jazz to score once again.
Jordan with 43. Malone is doubled. They swat at it and steal it. Here comes Chicago. 17 seconds. 17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. Timeout, Utah. 5.2 seconds left. Michael Jordan running on fumes with 45 points.
This was really the play that hurt Isaiah because they scored so quickly. Michael got in there and scored within 4 seconds. And what happened was Michael doubled back. You're going to see he's in the play. Look where Hornacek is setting the screen. Michael never clears, so Malone doesn't see him. He comes from the blind side and strips him. So 3 crucial plays here by Michael Jordan now as he gets Brian Russell with a quick crossover. Look at Brian Russell slips, and Michael.
But that may have been the last shot Michael Jordan will ever take in the NBA.
Watch Jordan's left hand here as he gives Russell the push. The referee can't see that. Jordan frees himself up for a clean look. The greatest thing about Jordan is he has all the tricks. That's why it's so difficult to guard him.
Stockton. Harper's on him. Behind the screen. Harper got a piece of it. It comes off. The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship, and it's their 2nd three-peat. When you lose by this narrow a margin, speaking of the Utah Jazz, there are so many things to look back on. But the Howard Isley 3 that was taken away in the first half will eat at them all summer long. Jackson and Jordan, perhaps for the last time. Statistically, especially in terms of shooting percentage, Michael Jordan has had better games. But when you consider at age 35, the games he's played this year, the grinding minutes he's played, and Scottie Pippen being all but incapacitated tonight, and the fact that they're on the road, and the fact that the odds would shift to Utah's favor for a Game 7, yes, MJ rose again. Michael Jordan is as great a competitor as sports has ever seen. He also has an uncanny sense of theater. And as he makes his decision, he'll think about the fact that he could not ask for a better punctuation than this. He accepts a victory cigar from Jerry Reinsdorf to not only hit the winning basket, but have it be the last shot he takes this season, maybe the last he'll ever take in a Chicago Bulls uniform, to win the game and the championship by a point.
Big surprise. 6 championships, 6 MVPs. Michael Jordan, get over here. You grace us with your presence. You've contributed mightily to our league. And tonight you gave one of the singular performances in the history of the NBA Finals. Thank you and congratulations, 1998 NBA Finals MVP, Michael Jordan.
Michael, you have won this award before, but somehow I have the feeling that this one is more special than all of them.
Well, let me say hello to my wife and my kids at home, because they desperately wanted to come. I didn't want them to come here today because I wanted to focus on the game, but I wish they were here to help me celebrate. I know they're there cheering, and I can't wait to get home. But to the Utah fans, you guys are a tough bunch to play in front of. You guys came out with a lot of loyalty and respect for your team. You made it really tough for us. We really, after losing Game 5 in Chicago, a couple of us dread coming back to Utah because we had to deal with the fans because of the energy that they bring to the game. But we had no choice, so we had to come in and play our best, and you guys made it a very competitive finals, and it's very worthy to win this, and I think that of all the championships that we've won, this is the toughest.
All right, I've asked everybody if they're all going to come around and try to do this again one more time.
I would love for that to happen. I think that's something that's got to have to be determined over the summer.
All right, so we're going to start here with Game 3. And for those of you that don't know, the Bulls, they didn't just win this game. They beat the brakes off the Jazz. They beat them to smithereens. I mean, however you want to put it, they whooped that ass by an NBA record margin. 96-54 was the final score. 42 points. I'm pretty sure that record still stands. So, I mean, from a perspective of someone who was rooting for Chicago, I love watching this game because it's nothing but Chicago highlights pretty much. And the ironic thing is that Karl Malone got off to a hot start. I think he made his first 6 shots, and he was making like turnaround fadeaways, not just getting layups. He came out hot as hell, and then the Chicago defense just clamped him up, and then they just took off, man. So this is, from a Bulls fan perspective, this is one of a great game to watch, to just sit back and just nonstop entertainment if you're not looking for drama, just looking for a dominant Chicago win, which is exactly what this was. And I remember when this first, when I was watching it, like way back, I remember, as always, I would always be looking at Mike's feet just to, look at his feet. And I could tell that it was looking like he's not wearing the 13s, or he was wearing a different color, because clearly all that season, all the playoffs, he had been wearing a black and white 13 at home, whether it was the mid that released or the PE low that he had, but they all had the white pods. So he's clearly wearing a mostly black shoe that didn't have that white pods. So now, of course, this is the late 90s. We don't have the HD and 100 cameras at the game like we have now, so you couldn't get really, really good looks, but you could look close enough and tell clearly it wasn't the same shoes he had been wearing. And then I think there's a couple shots you can get that you get in the game where you can see, okay, this is a different shoe. So this was our first look at the new Jordan, which he broke out early for whatever reason. I would love for someone to ask him, or maybe it's going to come up in this Last Dance documentary maybe, Why did he break the 14s out early? I would love to know, because I don't think anyone's ever asked him that. Why did he go to the 14s early? He went back to the 13 for Game 5, which I guess he assumed that they were going to close it out that game. He had been wearing the 13s all year, so, go back to the 13. And they lose that game, and then he goes back to the 14 for Game 6. Why is that? I don't know. I always assumed it was like a superstitious thing. He wore the 13s, 13, unlucky number. They lost, so he went back to the 14. And then, of course, while the 13 is no slouch on the court, the Air Jordan 14, the original ones, are arguably the best basketball shoe ever. Like, when you take into account, obviously, time. Like, so say now, it's 20-something years later. So when you take into account the era that they came out in, they're arguably the best basketball shoe ever. For those of you who haven't played in them or are not sure, or maybe just don't play at all. But from someone who played in the originals and has played in the retros that have come after, none of the retros even come close. They might look similar, but they don't play similar on the court. But anyway, I'm going off into a tangent now. But yeah, that's it for Game 3. Bulls beat down the Jazz. All right, so Game 4, there's nothing too much to get into really. Utah, they got themselves together mentally. They got off to a decent start. Chicago's defense turned back up. Chicago was in control for most of the game. Utah did make a late run, and the game ended up being close. And then down the stretch, Mike had a layup, and then Dennis Rodman, of all people, knocked down 2 free throws to seal the game. It's a good game to watch. But nothing too much to get into with that. Let's just go ahead and get to what matters. Game 6. All right, 1998 Finals, Salt Lake City, Utah, Delta Center, Game 6. Bulls up 3-2. As the years have gone on, this Jordan moment has just gone up the ranks for me. I've appreciated it more and more and more when you really take into account the entirety of the situation. Going all the way back to the start of the season, Scotty was out, to begin the season, and Mike had to carry that extra load, at 34, turning 35. When you go back and watch those games, Mike's game is all out, so it was no load management here. He wasn't missing any games. He wasn't, playing less minutes. He was playing more minutes. So here we are all the way at the end of the season, and according to, at least the way they look at it now, all that stuff matters. So he's been carrying the load all season as he normally would, and then on top of that, the extra from Scotty being out early. And then going into the series, remember, they just came off of a grueling 7-game series against Indiana, where it was just a home-and-home series. They couldn't get a win in Indiana, and they were just able to hold home court. And then it was a tough Game 7, where they were Indiana was ahead most of the game, and they had to make a late run to kind of take control of the game and close out the series. And I believe Utah, they had eliminated the Lakers, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. The Lakers, and they had some time. They actually had like a little layoff, so it was like rest versus rush, where the Bulls were tired, and then the Jazz might have been a little rusty entering the series. So then, Bulls lose Game 1, win Game 2 on the road, win Game 3, blowout, win Game 4, go up 3-1, lose Game 5. So they have to go back to Utah. And for those of you, most of you should know this, that Delta Center, those Utah fans, is not, I think Mike even said this, during the trophy presentation, that a lot of the players, not him, I'm assuming he wasn't referring to himself, they dreaded having to go back to Utah because they had to deal with the fans. And of course, we've seen, as the years have gone by, certain things with Utah fans, whether it was, Derek Fisher, or I know Russell Westbrook got into a spat a few years ago, or like last year. So we know how it is playing in Utah. It's not easy, And then to make matters worse, Scotty pulls his back out on the first field goal he got. He got a dunk, and he kind of pulled his back out. So Scotty's out, and at least he went back. He went out of the game for a while to go get his back looked at. So, and then immediately Mike just puts, as he had done, going all the way back to '84, puts the team on his shoulders and just starts going after it. And, you know, Scotty was able to come back onto the floor and at least be a decoy, so they couldn't just hover in on Mike. They had to at least, you know, respect that he was out there. I think they posted him up on Jeff Hornacek a few times. I know he scored a few times, even though I know he only had 8 points in the game. So he was pretty much out there as kind of a decoy because he could barely move. You were seeing him run, and he was so straight up. You can tell like his back was really bothering him, and all that. And to think when you put it in a situation that, so like I believe Mike hits 2 free throws to tie the game, and he was already tired because I believe Phil Jackson called a timeout before the free throws. Like he was at the line, Phil called timeout for him to call to shoot the 2 free throws and kind of catch himself before he shot the 2 free throws. Ties the game up. John Stockton comes down, hits a 3. So they're down 3, and I think there's 54 seconds left. And then after that point, they come back down. I think Scott Burrell, somebody, inbounds the ball to Mike. And at that point, he's the last Bull to touch the ball for the rest of the game. So Mike gets a quick bucket on Brian Russell. Come back down. I mean, you guys know what I'm going. And everything just seemed to work out perfectly. Because if any one of those things had, you know, didn't happen the way it happened, they might not have won the game. So he comes down. Maybe if it had taken a little bit longer for him to get that initial field goal when they were down 3. Or when you come back down on the defensive end, maybe John Stockton sees him waiting behind Karl Malone and doesn't pass it in. Or the ref calls a foul. Who knows? There's so many things that could have happened. And then he comes back down. Now this might not have happened. Like, you know, I doubt the push-off would have been called for a foul. Or he might have just missed the shot, you know? I'm sure there was times Michael Jordan's in a gym by himself and he misses a shot. But all those things had to go in line perfectly. And they went in line perfectly. Came back down. I think it was 5.2 seconds left. Got the stop. Game over. To win the series and the championship by 1 point. 1 point. And if any of those things hadn't happened and they ended up losing Game 6, sure there's a Game 7, but can Scottie Pippen even play? Could Scottie play? And then Mike had put out so much energy in Game 6 on top of what he had done going back to the beginning of the season. And you're in Utah. And now Utah's won 2 straight games. They won Game 5 and 6. Man, that would have been... I mean, not to say that Mike couldn't do it, but, man, that would have been an unbelievable road win, you know, in those circumstances. So when you put it in that perspective and in that lens, what he was able to do at the end of Game 6 to win the game, it's like still to this day when I'm watching it, I get that same feeling. I get those goosebumps, even though I already know what's gonna happen and I've seen it hundreds of times, you know. But I'm sure that's the same if you can relate. You watch it, especially when you're watching it like as it happened, not just like highlights, but you're like watching the actual live game footage. It's like, man, and you know what's coming. And you look around. I always like to look around at the fans because they don't know what's coming. And especially once Mike stole the ball from Karl Malone, you see some fans kind of put their head down or they put their hands on their head because they know, they're like, oh no, oh no, oh no, because they know it's coming, and it came. Yo, man, still to this day, this is one of the most unbelievable sequences, given the situation. One of the most unbelievable sequences probably in sports history. You know, or as Bill Walton used to say, in the history of Western civilization. So I mean, I don't know. You guys just drop me a comment down there. What's your view? What's your perspective on that Game 6 sequence, or just that entire situation as a whole, and how Mike was able to come through? I can't wait to see how they portray this in this Last Dance documentary that's about to drop. That starts tonight. We'll see how it turns out. But anyway, that's it on this one. Thanks for watching the video. If you made it this far, thanks for supporting the channel. Peace.
He no longer needs accomplishments to prove his case as the greatest player in NBA history. He just adds to it. And if this is the final chapter, what a way to close the book.